right? I want to talk to you about why we're here today. Everybody here has probably noticed that over the last year and a half, 2 years, every window in this building's been replaced. Did you notice that? Remember how dark and gloomy it was? You guys know what was here before these new windows? The original windows when this building was built in 1920. How many of you were alive in 1920? You were? You were? Okay. In 1920 they built the windows and they kind of grew old and they kind of crumbled. So what happened in the 1970s, again before any of you were born, was they put plywood type stuff over it and then big corrugated sheets. And that's the yellowish thing you saw every time you pulled up. You remember when you walk in the building and that big thing was covering every single window in this building? You notice they're all gone. And you know why they're all gone? Because this gentleman's standing right next to me. This is Mr. Anthony Caruana, who is the supervisor of the town of Tonawanda. And with his help and the town board's help, they found money for us to get all of these windows replaced in the entire building. You can look out there, and a couple of people even mentioned it. You can see the river. We could never see the river from our building before, ever. And that's a big deal. We got light coming in. We never had light. We used to have dark rooms all the time. So what we want to do is say thank you to Mr. Caruana. Mr. Hartz, who was the guy that made all the construction happen. We want to say thank you to Mr. Hartz. Only because this is a good friend of ours, and I want to recognize the fact that he's here because he's helped us with a lot of different things that have made programming go on in this club. Is Assemblyman Schimminger. So let's say thank you to
You're supposed to say thank you, Robin Schimminger, right?
Yes.
But they couldn't say all that.
Well, they were too busy filling out their voting cards.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I say thank you, Tony Caruana.
So I'm going to step aside for a second and let Mr. Caruana talk to you about what happened to get us where we are today. And then we're going to do a ribbon cutting, okay? So, Mr. Caruana.
Hey.
I'm here today because you can see a little better in here. I don't know if any of you know. Do you know what this building was at one time? School. Do you know what the name of the school was?
No. Town School?
No, it was Warren G. Harding School. It was one of the presidents way back in the early 1900s. And this school was built in, I think it was 1920 or close to 1920, so it's almost 100 years old. And not quite as old as I am. But in 1920, and then the school district in Tonawanda actually had moved a school that was one of the first schools in the town. It was over by the river in a place today we call Cherry Farm. I don't know if any of you know where that is. It's an industrial area over there. And there was a little schoolhouse. Two farm communities, two farm families donated a half an acre of land and they built a schoolhouse over there. And when that schoolhouse got too old to be used and they needed the property for their stuff, they moved it over here. Warren G. Harding School. And then in 1956, the school district sold the building to the, at that time, the Town Boys Club, and it was renamed in 1983 to the Boys and Girls Club that we have today. And we're glad that it is. And about 3 years ago, our town did a neighborhood plan here for this Riverside and Buffalo Old Town area. And we decided that through Mr. Phil, came over and said, is there anything the town can do that we might be able to help you with? And thanks to Mr. Jim Hartz here, who is the director of our community development programs, he found out that there was funding available through community development block grant from the federal government, from the Department of House and Urban Development, which you probably don't know about. And we were able to get money, lots of money, to help us make energy efficient windows, to get ventilation in here, not only the fresh air coming in, and also make it safety for fire and other hazards. And we know in here not only are boys and girls here, but we know that it's open for the community. There are a couple of groups, neighborhood watch groups come in here, and I believe there are a couple of block clubs that are here also. So we are very pleased. This is kind of a whole centerpiece of this whole town, in this whole town area. It's the #1 building in here, next to General Motors, which is a good friend of ours also. So it's especially to help us make a brighter future here. And with the windows, you can see the bright future that we have here. So we want to thank you, and we're very glad that we can partner with you. And how many of you know that there's a little garden out in the back there, a tree farm? How many of you worked on our tree farm that was done by our town employees? And we thank you for working on that. And those trees are replanted around the town, and they really make our town more beautiful. Also, next year, we're going to have some more houses built. Mr. Hartz, a couple houses I think we've got that we're going to be rebuilding in the area. And we're going to be redoing 3 of the streets. Roswell, Riverdale, and Vulcan will be repaved, and everything else, but probably some light landscaping along with it. So with that, I want to thank all of you here, the board members especially, for all your work you do on here. And I know we've got a member going all the way back who went to school in this building when it was a school. And also, Mr. Hart is also a board member for a long time, and we thank you and all the board members for what you do. And I especially want to thank Mr. Phil for the wonderful leadership he provides and what he's done for you. So let's give Mr. Phil a nice break.
We have another little thank you for you. And this isn't from the staff, this is from the kids.
All right.
And they wanted to picture what it's like now that we have windows. So here's the sun.
Right away off. It is a bright future, so very good.
Miss Gabby, you have a couple of kids that can hold this. We're going to do a ribbon cutting.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
We're gonna get you out, and we're gonna balance you off with a nice young man, and I like you with a brown shirt. John. Thanks.
Who's our other person?
Michael.
You are? You're going to stand right here? Look at him, look at him. Hold him tight. Okay.
Hold it tight now. Nice
Oh,
round of
he's
applause.
holding it tight.
Tight to the point where we get
Miss Gabby, will you have one of the kids come up and help with the cutting?
Miss Bobcat! Who's the best kid in 3rd grade?
Fourth grader. Michael.
I know. I thought about
We say, and girls and boys, girls, and 1, 2, 3, then on 3, we're going to cut. We ready? Okay, ready? 1,